interesting is sports fans obviously know a lot about baseball. Me as a woman, I'm just going to be straight up and embarrass myself. I had no idea about baseball. I was doing a series about tech and sports, and I had gone to the NFL, and I looked at all of their whiz-bang gadgets for football, and then I went over to MLB, and I was expecting all of this baseball stuff, and then I found myself in Chelsea Market, and I was like, I'm totally in the wrong place. Like, what is this address? And I went up the elevator, and I found one of the most massive tech companies I had ever seen. And the first thing I asked Bob was, is this a tech company or a sports company? So I will ask you that very same question again. Bob, is MLB.com a sports company or a tech company?
Just out of curiosity, any chance you remember how I answered it before?
I do, but you know, little secret that Bob used to be a politician. He was the state treasurer of Michigan, little known fact. So he actually answers these questions brilliantly without actually answering the questions.
You don't remember?
Dun, 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 dun.
You don't remember how I answered it?
Well, answer it again, mister.
Okay. I think in honesty, we are a technology company. We are a homegrown technology company, the largest homegrown technology company in New York City. You know, Tumblr will get all the press, but we actually have 5 times as many employees as they do, starting here in New York. And in order to reach today's generation, people your age, we need to be a technology company. When we started our company, it was one device, a desktop. Some of you may not know what a desktop is. It's a big-ass thing that sits on your desk. And it was one operating system called Windows. Today, if you add up the operating systems and the devices we publish to, it's 3,500. So you have to be a technology company. Any content publisher either has to be a technology company or hire a technology company.
See, he knows his audience. If we were in a sports audience, he would say it's a sports company. No, but all kidding aside, you know, when you guys started in 2000, when the commissioner started, the desktop was ginormous, too. It was a totally different desktop.
By the way, ginormous was in yesterday's New York Times crossword puzzle.
Amazing.
Just thought you'd ought to know that.
Thank you.
It's a word that my kids use.
Well, I think I'm cool. I'm actually
Do you know what
not
2
that
words
cool.
it combines? Ginormous?
Yeah, it's gigantic and enormous.
Very good. There you go. See?
Ding, ding, ding. Thank you.
See how easy this is?
I'm trying. I'm trying to make it understandable because I try to ask really dumb, basic questions about the platforms that you guys are on. So the desktop was where you started, and then really you became platform agnostic.
We don't, whether it's Apple, Android, including BlackBerry, Windows, whatever the operating system is on a mobile device, we're going to be there. Whatever the tablet is, we're going to try and be there. You have to be agnostic. You shouldn't expect fans to say, geez, I really want to watch this online or get some stats, and therefore I've got to switch devices. They're just not going to do it. If you're not on that device, you're not relevant. And in today's world, the interesting thing is that what kids are doing is they're using 1.4 devices at a time.
0.4.
So in other words, every other kid virtually has 2 devices open at the same time.
Huh.
And if I have 2 teenage children, if I look at them, that's what they do. They certainly have their laptop or tablet open, and their phone is always on.
So just like America has 2.5 children?
Yes, it seems, even though I only have 2, it seems at times I have 2.5 children.
No, so if you're opening those different devices, iPads, mini iPads, phones, in all varieties, whether it's Apple or not, can you name your favorite child, so to speak? I know you say you love all of them, but which is your favorite device?
Of the devices?
For actually utilizing
the
MLB.
tablet. Once you watch a live baseball game on a tablet, it is in high def. It is personal. It is vivid. It's easy to surf around. It's probably one of the best experiences for live sports I've ever seen. And we have a big screen TV just like everybody else does, but I don't get that. And so we're sitting in front of the big screen TV, and everyone will have a device open. My wife, it's a laptop. I'm a tablet. My kids are phones. So it's sort of like the old 3 bears, I guess.
Yes.
And now with devices.
But your app is really expensive.
Our app is $19.95.
No, but
$19.99.
what about the $100 one?
That's MLB.TV is now it's $100.
That's what you were talking about, watching TV on the tablet.
And it's $100 to watch every game for the rest of the season. If you think of it now, we've got roughly 1,800 games left. $100 for 1,800 games. That's pretty cheap. that's like 10 visits to Starbucks.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty expensive for an app. Do you find that that's a hindering factor?
We don't know. You're asking us the shape of the demand curve or the slope of the demand curve, whether it's very vertical, so no matter what we charge, we get the same number of purchasers, or where it's very horizontal, whereas a slight price change would dramatically move users one way or the other. And we don't really know. We don't want to raise the price. We have a great debate in our office thinking that no matter what we charge, we're going to get the same number of customers, and I don't think that's right. I think that people are price sensitive. And clearly, the casual fan is not buying the $100 app. That's just too much money.
It's a die-hard fan.
It's a really avid fan. People who Red Sox fans who live here, Brewers fans who live in New York, Yankee fans who live in Missouri, whatever it may be, these are die-hard fans who are spending $100. But we have, if you add up all our various subscriptions between the At-Bat app, MLB.TV, and all their subsidiaries, we'll end the year with somewhere just shy of 4 million subscribers.
And that's growth of 40%.
It's averaged 40%. It's gonna start to slow down. You can't sustain that forever. But this year it'll be somewhere between 20 and 25%.
That's really outpacing the growth of the web.
Oh, sure. But I think content discovery is still occurring on the web, and I think video done well is still gonna continue to grow. We see video done really poorly on the web. I don't want to mention like a 30-second pre-roll, but that's a big insult to users. That's like saying to them, your time's not valuable. You're going to watch a 90-second highlight or a 60-second highlight. We're going to use up 33% of your time with a pre-roll. That's not being respectful of people's time. So we see video done badly, but in general, video's moving more and more to more devices, more ubiquitous, not just YouTube, everything. And so that's good for us.
So that's MLB.TV. What about the At-Bat app? We have a little bit of breaking news. I've got my journalist love. You have a couple of stats to announce.
Oh, sugar, I do? Yes, I do, of course I do. Yesterday, we passed 6 million downloads for At-Bat, and the number we achieved, we didn't achieve 6 million until the playoffs started last year, and we were at 6.7 million at the end of the year. So we'll hit 6.7 million sometime, just after this, 10, 15 days. And that sort of demonstrates how many people are moving to smartphones. This country's still only just over 50% in smartphones. Everyone in this room has a smartphone, so we think the whole world does, but they don't. They're still using full feature phones, and we're just over 100 million people with smartphones, so that market's going to continue to grow. The app market is going to continue to grow far more rapidly than the web market.
Even being the most downloaded app on iOS?
It's going to grow. We hope to end the year somewhere around 8 to 9 to 10 million apps downloaded this year. And they have to download it every year. If you add them up over the time, it's 30 some odd million downloads. But you have to re-download it every year because, as you mentioned, we charge for it. It's not, the internet ain't free.
No, it ain't free. And you guys have figured that out. And you guys have figured out a model where you can actually get people to pay and actually be still one of the most downloaded apps. You guys were when Steve Jobs was alive. You've had conversations with
No, I wouldn't call them conversation with Steve Jobs.
What were they?
He would call. I would say yes. Would you think about this? Steve Jobs would say no, and he would hang up politely, and that would be the end. And then a year later, we would talk, and I'd say, would you think about this? He would pause for a polite second. He would say no, and then he would politely hang up. Those are my two conversations with Steve Jobs. His team, the ironic thing about Apple is you think of them young and hip, but his team has been there 20, 25 years. They've been there forever. And they're all, in the main, middle-aged people too. They're not all just hipsters, as I guess someone tried to claim David was. But they're not just hipsters. They're actually middle-aged folks who create really hip products. And they ushered in the digital era in terms of personal communication.
And so did you guys, starting in 2000. It's not 25 years, but it's 13 years.
It's a long time.
How have you guys...
Talk to my employees. For them, it seems like dog years.
Well, we'll get back to that in a second, because your employees are really interesting, and they are a lot of hipsters in Silicon Alley. But changing since 2000, obviously the devices have changed, but how have you changed as a company?
Well, I think, first of all, the commissioner had the vision, not just ahead of other sports leagues, but ahead of other media companies. There's some media companies still today that are just nibbling at the fringes. He went all in risk is, put politics on the line, got 30 yes votes to centralize all these rights. If you don't centralize it, it's hard to really have a big footprint and sort of have a position that we have. But the biggest change is when we launched in 2001, our first season, we were probably 80% editorial, 20% technical. And now that's flip-flop. Now we're 80% technical and 20% editorial. To your earlier question, our tech group, if you add up mobile, video, and just infrastructure, networking, and things like that, is probably nearly 350 people. And editorial is now probably about 100. Still the largest group of writers in the world for baseball, but nevertheless, it has remained relatively static, whereas technology has quadrupled or quintupled in the last 13 years.
So what do you have, 550 employees in New York?
Something like that, yeah. So 550 here in New York, and about another 60, 70 around the country. In fact, just this week, we plan to open our first San Francisco office. So
let's be clear, you are the biggest tech company in New York?
Well, no, certainly not, but we are homegrown. Yeah, I mean, if Google's everywhere. Google's a little like Air down on Chelsea Market. They own the building across the street, but the largest tenant in our building. And they're our largest recruiting nemesis. So we're not, we love Google, but we're not sure we love them that much. And, but we're certainly not the largest, but we're the largest homegrown, for sure.
That's right across the street from Google. So it's a really big techie vibe in Chelsea Market. What do you say to an engineer, because retention is really hard across the board with Silicon Alley, Silicon Valley. If I'm a stud engineer and I either want to work at Google or I want to work at MLB Advanced Media, what do you say to me to try and convince me to go over to your team? No pun intended.
The number one thing we have is that we like to think we're inventing new things. They get a chance to not just talk about what's next, create what's next, put it out there and see if people like it. Shape it. It's a flat group, so we sit there and everyone has a voice. The smartest voice wins, not the loudest, although sometimes the smartest is the loudest, to be fair. And so we offer that. We offer, obviously, an environment for a sports enthusiast. And we offer, I would say, a stabler environment. So if you're 22 and you want to go become a trillionaire and try and invent something, you're probably not going to work for us or Google. But if you're interested in trying to create things and getting it heard and seen by customers right away, and you're interested in testing how talented you might be, you'll probably work for us, not Google, simply because our product line is much narrower and much shorter than theirs. But if you're interested in being the dominant player in terms of interaction and working for an incredibly talented CEO like Zuckerberg as opposed to me, you're probably going to work for Google. So we lose some, we win some, and as we say in baseball, some are rained out. But we do all right. People are our number one asset, and it's our number one focus.
Your number one focus is still baseball, but at first I was a little stumped, maybe I'm the only one, about MLB AM. It's like, what's the AM all about? That's advanced media.
Right.
So you guys don't only do baseball, and what I was really fascinated to see when I came to the HQ is that Glenn Beck all of a sudden was in your control room. And I was like, what the heck does Glenn Beck have to do with baseball?
There's a lot of people asking that question. Virtually every day.
And what's the answer, Mr. Bowman?
Well, we stream, if you want to have a conversation with people on all these devices and you have live content, you need to stream it to them. You need to capture, encode, and deliver it either subscription-based, geolocation, maybe authenticated. It needs to look terrific. It needs to be, you cannot have, it's not TV, but with 14 handoffs, you need to run smoothly. So if you're really going to run a high-quality product, particularly one that's going to be charged for, like Glenn Beck does, you want to hire somebody to probably manage it. And so we've been hired by some great names to manage their live content. ESPN's our biggest partner, our most important partner, and frankly, our toughest competitor. But we manage a lot of their live content on the back end, a lot of other live sports on the back end. Again, big name events, has to work. They've sold a lot of ads against it, so even if it's not subscription, they've sold dozens and dozens of ads against this live content, so it has to work, it can't time out, and it has to look great because it's a big event. So we get hired probably by, right now I'd say 12 big partners, and we're hoping to grow that business as more and more people want to deliver live content, not on-demand content, but live content to people, regardless of where they are, regardless of what device they may be carrying.
So the company has become a white box solution.
Right, in fact, the only one we really ever mention publicly is ESPN because they've authorized it. Glenn Beck has authorized it as well, but we do a lot of back end for a lot of other companies that we just don't mention.
Nobody's listening, can you just tell me a couple?
I think what everyone has learned is that
That's between us, girls.
I think Twitter's always on, right? No matter what you say, it'll be written in Twitter.
It's fair enough. But at least I tried.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it was a good effort.
So if you're a white box solution for the likes of ESPN, what do you think about this conversation that's going on right now about ESPN subsidizing some of the data that sucks out their content?
I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I don't get why AT&T's doing it. It seems to me that's what they're supposed to manage is data usage. And they're the ones who have the relationship with the customer. So I don't understand it from their point of view. They're our partners, they're very smart, so they must, and obviously they know what they're doing, but as a content publisher, I don't get why AT&T is started encouraging us all to get in the telco business, because that's what they're encouraging us to do, if you take it 2 steps further. I don't get it from ESPN's point of view, because they're talking about maybe 2 or 3% of the people who are the data hogs. And so for everyone, they're gonna talk about paying for distribution to try and solve a very small issue, what seems to me a very small issue. And that seems to be akimbo with what they do with the cable world. They don't actually pay for distribution, as you may have read. They actually get paid for distribution. They get paid for their content. So I don't understand it from any point of view. ESPN is really smart. They're really good. AT&T is really smart, really good. So I think I'm in a poker game. I've been looking for the person who doesn't get how to play poker, and I think it's me. I think I'm the patsy in the game, and they're all just going to take my money because those are 2 really smart companies. But sitting here today, I'm having a hard time understanding it from either points of view. That doesn't mean we won't be doing it in a year, because I'll be educated and get smarter, but right now I don't get it.
So you're not getting involved in that fight?
Right now, it's data usage is just not an issue. For people for whom it's an issue, they understand it and they pay for it. For 97% of us, we don't run over our limits and it's not an issue. So why, I've never, as a former politician, you don't solve a problem for 100 people if it's only a problem for 3.
So if you're seeing some of the growth taper off, I know there's a debate within your office as to whether or not it's price related or not, but if some of that is flattening out, where can you gain growth in other aspects of the business?
Well, I think everyone wants, there's 2 things going on simultaneously. One is a typical American business will be focused on its product, as we do. We have a product, MLB.TV, At-Bat, and it's all the subsidiaries. So you worry about product extension. Product extension may be a new feature that gets somebody interested. It might be a different price point. Might be different packaging. You do all sorts of things with the product to try and extend it. As P&G taught us all in business school 100 years ago, that's how you get more money from the same person as you offer a product extension. Simultaneous with that, though, is you try and be customer-centric as well. And particularly with the new millennials that are coming up, and I think the internet generation behind them, people that are my daughter's age and younger, they're going to consume things differently. They're going to pay for it differently. They're going to enjoy things differently. So trying to figure out what that customer wants when he or she wants it, how much they're willing to pay and for what type of content, sort of being more customer-centric, not product-centric, is a simultaneous discussion focus we have going on in our company right now. I would say that we're working hard on both, but no one's throwing us a parade that we figured out both of them, that we have some perfect solution here. We do not, but we're focused on it, and we have smart people looking at it, and God willing, we'll continue to move down both those paths and continue to grow the business.
Wait, what are both of those paths?
Trying to find the right customer with the right product, a customer-centric solution.
And monetization.
And then a product solution, too. Most companies are product-oriented, but increasingly companies need to be customer-centric, delivering the right product to the right person at the right time, and finding that person and finding out what he or she likes. And it isn't just a product. You got to find, there might be somebody who really wants it, and you need to understand the difference between somebody who's 26 and somebody who's 16. Even though it's highlights, the 16-year-old might want it completely differently than the 26-year-old, and at a different time.
That 16-year-old may want a gamification experience.
Exactly.
I know you guys are dabbling a little bit in that. How's that been going?
It's going surprisingly well. We're launching 17 games this year, all but one on mobile. And we just launched Home Run Derby. And I know it must be working because at our staff meetings, which are I'm particularly inept in getting anybody's attention, but now everyone's doing this during the staff meeting, so I know it must be a pretty good game. And people are playing it. We launched Head to Head, which is a 1-minute game where I can play you in 4 categories. And what we're trying to do is gamify for the baseball fan, but who wants a minute diversion. He or she's got a minute. there's no games being played, but they want to do something, or there are games being played, but they want to gamify their experience, whether they play against somebody else, against a pool, or just home run derby in a Twitch game themselves. So we're trying to do that. It's gone exceedingly well. We'll probably end the year with all these games with over 1 million downloads.
So you can make money from that, but the fan can also make money from that?
We have one game where we call Beat the Streak, where the fan can pick a player. If his or her player gets a hit that night, the streak's alive. And if they break DiMaggio's streak, that is get 57, we'll pay them $5.6 million. Sounds easy, right?
No, but there's one guy, this is also a little bit of news that Bob has to announce. There's one guy that's close to it, right?
He's got 45 or 46. Basically what he's doing is taking Cabrera every night. I mean, it's gotten a lot easier now that Miggy Cabrera's batting 700 or whatever he's batting, but that's what he's doing. And we've had, in the 13 years we've been doing it, I think 4 million people have played this game. When we launched it in 2001, we had a Harvard Business School, no offense, student who told us, as soon as you have 5,000 people playing it, someone will win it. And we said, not so sure. And now 4 million people later, we still don't have it. We've only had 2 people over 50. And so this kid is at 45. And the good news is, from our CFO's point of view, the game's insured for $5.6 million. We're paying the insurance. And damn it, I want to give away the money.
You do?
Absolutely. We want to give it. Absolutely. We want to give away the $5.6 million to this kid who's hopefully he's going to keep his streak alive. Typically, when we talk about it, we jinx it. And so, I mean, we've done this in the past, and I'm the biggest jinx in the world. We'll mention his or her name, and we'll say good luck, and then he loses. So nobody wants to talk to us. God willing, in what he's playing 1 a day, you can play 2 a day, but he's playing one batter a day. So in roughly 10 days or so, hopefully we'll have a really big announcement with a nice check. We'll go down to Florida and do the Powerball announcement and do the Beat the Streak announcement all at the same time.
But all kidding aside, I mean, it's very cool for this one individual, and 2 others in the past got it too.
No, nobody's won the money.
Oh, really?
Nobody's won it.
So this is the first guy?
Well, we've had 2 guys over 50, and then we called them both up, and we said they're both college students.
And then you jinxed them.
And then we jinxed them.
Okay.
So,
well, hopefully you don't jinx this guy, but again, all kidding aside, it's not only the money for him, but it increases user engagement. Have you seen? Sure.
If you're playing some sort of game that relates to the live action, you're going to spend more time with the live action. This kid who picks Cabrera, I mean, he has to watch the Tigers at least through the first inning, because usually Cabrera hits the first pitch. But at least he's going to watch that game now. He's not going to just sit at home and wait to hear the results. He is going to focus on that. And that's the idea of all these, with the head-to-head where you pick 4 players each, is you're going to watch the game. We see it in football. When we play football fantasy, we watch games that we had no interest in because we're trying to wonder what that quarterback will do. So while fantasy is not the same for us, these types of games we hope will have the same impact.
Will it have the same monetization impact? Because you guys have a really interesting monetization history. Can you just explain that a little bit?
Well, we sell subscriptions. We chose everything: advertising, sponsorship, subscriptions, merchandise, and tickets. And so we're going to continue this. We do with these games. There are microtransactions where you can upsell and buy things to do better, and that will generate some cash. But these are generally advertising-supported games, and generally the benefit for baseball occurs somewhere else because he or she's going to watch the game. That helps TV ratings. That helps get more money for local clubs, or he or she might buy MLB.TV as an ancillary product. But it's mainly trying to get engagement, get them to focus more on the game, a game they might not otherwise been interested in, or a game they were interested in, but get them to watch it regularly. We play every day, and so it's tough. If you're mindful and respectful of people's time, remember I said the 30-second pre-roll makes no sense to us. It's a big insult, I think, to people to say you've got 30 seconds to watch a pre-roll on a small screen. But if you're mindful of their time, you don't want to say we need an hour every day. That's really greedy. Give us 10 minutes every day, give us 12 minutes, get a lot of enjoyment, go do your other things, and then come back and visit us tomorrow. And so we're trying to be respectful of people's time. While we'd like them to be longer, we don't want to trap them to be there longer.
And Passbook is also a big part of your business.
Well, a lot of people who buy tickets, roughly 12% are buying them online, store them in Passbook. Again, there are other solutions out there. Apple came first. Maybe it's the best. We're agnostic on that. We let people store tickets in a lot of different ways. We let them download them to their phone. And Passbook is being used the most right now. It's a self-selected group, obviously. I think
that was obviously for you.
I think someone finally got the ball on the mound. We're playing mound ball over there, which is the greatest game that I played when I was watching the Brewers grow up. Lost a lot of money playing mound ball. And so I think we're just trying to get people to buy tickets. This new generation, they're going to do everything with their phone. Not just the millennials will do many things with their phone. My daughter's generation will do everything with a mobile device. Commerce is going to occur there. We're just not. We want to make sure we're ready for it.
And back to baseball. You guys started in a much different way as an analogous tech company with the same size. Google, some of the others you mentioned. How did the clubs get involved to fund the business in 2000?
Way back in 2000, they all committed $1 million a year for 4 years. So 4 years, 30 clubs, $120 million to launch the business. We invested $77 million of it, and then we went cash neutral. And we obviously pay dividends every year, so we long ago returned the money
to the clubs.
To the clubs, and we pay a dividend directly, for the clubs. That's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars over the last few years. But more important than that, clubs are intimately involved in the content creation, particularly on the social side, whether it's on Facebook or increasingly on Twitter, maybe even on Tumblr, but whatever it might be. Increasingly, the clubs give us great content that we can formalize and centralize and push out in the social media. And they have become full-fledged partners in the creation of great digital content. And all the clubs are there now, and it becomes really valuable, particularly on channels like YouTube and Twitter, where it isn't always just straight highlights and straight scores, although both of them are pretty big. Twitter is becoming increasingly a go-to news source, as you know.
It's not Bloomberg. There.
We do. We just announced this morning a partnership with Twitter. I didn't even realize I was doing that, but what an incredible segue. And that partnership and other brands are doing it too, reflects, if you're going to be agnostic on devices, you have to be increasingly agnostic as to platforms. And so if you happen to be on Twitter and you're a casual baseball fan, we better give you something of what you want on Twitter. You might not come to MLB.com, you might not go to Mets or Yankees.com. And so the device agnostic was easy. Platform agnostic, what kind of content you put out there is more of an evolutionary process. But I'm a big fan of Twitter. I think what Dorsey created and what Costello runs is, I think, one of the most valuable products out there for an engagement with real fans, with real content. Twitter is the original reality show. It's real people saying what they think before they're told what to think.
I see that little flashing light. We can talk forever. The last question I'll ask you is related to some of the baseball we just talked about. You guys have a huge advantage because of the clubs, which is different than the Twitters of the world. So I'll ask you again to bring it full circle. Are you a tech company or are you a sports company?
We're definitely a tech company. I mean, it is, I think everyone has to be a tech company today. I would say that Macy's, if they don't become I don't know if they are or not, I don't have anything to know about them, but I think everyone in today's world has to be a tech company, because your generation and the generation, if it's possible, that's even younger than you, they are tech savvy. And if you're not a tech company, if you don't know how to reach them, talk to them, engage them, conduct commerce with them, you are going to be litter on the roadside. You have to be a tech company today.
You can take the CEO out of politics, but you can't take politics out of the CEO, the consummate politician. Bob, you stuck with your answer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that conversation.
I did. Thank you. Nice seeing you.